Hi, welcome to Big Damn Review, series where myself and Matt from Big Damn Cast, sometimes together, sometimes separately, sum up our spoiler-free thoughts of a movie that we have just seen that is out in cinemas right now that you're going to go and see, and you kind of want to know what we think about it so that we can dive into the completely spoiler-filled discussion in the next episode of Big Damn Cast. This week, you might have heard of it, massive film has come out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm reviewing 8th Grade. No, but I will go and see 8th Grade because I really want to see it and support Bo Burnham. But no, Avengers Endgame is the 22nd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and sort of the closing chapter for what we know so far of the last 11 years worth of films. There will be many stories after this. We already know there's a third Guardians, a Spider-Man sequel's out in the next month or two. There's a Shang-Chi film in development. There's a Black Widow-centric movie. There's an Eternals film in development. But this sort of serves as the culmination of everything that started with 2008 Iron Man. As such, it does feel like a book is closing, and what a way to go out. It's definitely a direct sequel to Avengers Infinity War. If you haven't seen Infinity War, you'll be confused as sin if you go into Endgame. Whereas with Infinity War, you sort of needed just a passing cultural knowledge of these characters and the films that they've been in to get by. For this one, it's not only a film assuming that you've stuck with them the entire journey, or at least for the big points of the journey, it's also a film that celebrates those who have stuck with it and rewards fans of the whole MCU again and again and again with nods and winks and references to big characters, their arcs, lots of payoffs to subtle things that you totally forgot about, that weren't questions you needed answering, but things where you go, appreciate that movie. The trailers is, in terms of the plot, is as far as I'm going to go in explaining what the film's about. But after the events of Infinity War, spoilers for Infinity War, in 3, 2, 1, after Thanos collected the Infinity Stones and snapped with the Infinity Gauntlet and wiped out 50% of the population of the entire universe, in his attempt to save everyone from using up all the finite resources, which everyone always says, well, that's mental, why didn't he just like double everything? He's the Mad Titan. He's got a noble point, but he's insane and deadly and fine with murdering people to get to saving people. Thanos is a villain with a compelling story. Thanos' movie was Infinity War, and he achieved what he set out to do. Endgame is not about Thanos. Endgame is about those left behind. Specifically, a chunk of the Avengers who were around and the people who survived the events of the last movie, and those who are left adrift in space. According to the trailers, again, as far as I'm going to go, they managed to mount a team with plans on setting things right. Now, what that means and what that entails is something I'm not going to go into in this spoiler-free discussion. Why? Because those trailers show you probably about 10 minutes worth of plot of the film. They give away nothing. And as with the last few big Marvel releases, there have been some subtle digital changes in the trailers to mask things from you. Now, some say that that is really deceptive, but in terms of this film, it means you get some really nice surprises. This is a funnier film than I thought it was going to be. It is very light in places, despite the very bleak starting point of, oh my god, half of the universe has been wiped out, what do we do? But it's a very light movie in tone for the majority of it, because it's more of an adventure. Like, it's an adventure to put things right. It's very superheroic in that way. It doesn't pass over the tragedy to achieve that tone, but it realises that, you know, you've spent the last year since that first one came out going, oh my god, it's time to go, hey, let's have some fun. Star turns in this. Karen Gillan as Nebula is a big standout in this one. Robert Downey Jr. gets to really tackle a lot of Tony Stark's inner demons and insecurities in a way that he probably hasn't really since Iron Man 3. Like, it's carrying on from obviously his developing character arc from Iron Man 3 through to Civil War and Age of Ultron and stuff. But, you know, he gets a lot to juggle here in a way that it's like, Tony's really thinking about who he is and what he can be for other people. And that's really good to watch, because you realise the progression of that character from 11 years ago to now is so well defined. Chris Hemsworth steals scenes as Thor in this. Scarlett Johansson gets to show a vulnerability to Natasha Romanoff that we've not really seen, bar some fleeting story stuff in Age of Ultron. Jeremy Renner delivers his finest hour as Hawkeye, who's gone through one heck of a character arc here, because we get to find out what he was up to during the events of Infinity War, because of course it was him and Ant-Man who we didn't see. Paul Rudd brings the levity as always. Chris Evans he's my fave. I love him as Cap. You know what I mean? Like, and he again delivers. Bradley Cooper's Rocket is great. Mark Ruffalo gets to do something really interesting for this one that's very unlike what we've seen before from his portrayal of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. So that's pretty great. To say much more would give things away, so I don't really want to, but I will say this. If you were a huge fan of Infinity War because of Thanos, this isn't Thanos' movie. Brolin is here, Brolin is delivering, and in the third act in particular, there is a conflict with Thanos that is brutal. So action fiends, you're gonna get something satisfying from this movie. Fans of these characters and the way that they deliver the stories through their interpretation of the events around them, and those little character moments that really humanize these heroes along the way, these larger-than-life characters, you're going to be satisfied by that. If you enjoyed Captain Marvel, Carol is here, and she is packing fists. That sounds wrong. So, yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's the best MCU movie? No, but it is a heck of a finale for the MCU as we know it. It absolutely nails the landing. It's a great second part to the Thanos sort of duology. It pays visual homage to a lot, some subtle ways, some really big ways, to a lot of previous films. My favourite, The Winter Soldier, gets quite a few sort of little tiny visual flourishes where you go, oh, that's a nod to Winter Soldier. So that makes me very happy. And I think that also suggests to me that maybe this is the Russo's last film on this franchise, because Winter Soldier was their first. So, who knows? Continuing their tradition, there are Community cameos hidden throughout the film, so keep an eye out for them. And the last, as far as we're aware, the last Stan Lee cameo that was filmed posthumously, is being seen posthumously because it was filmed before his death, which got a big cheer from the Glasgow screening I saw the film in, which is odd for British cinemas. We don't really whoop and holler, but that was nice. So yeah, I recommend going to see Endgame. Avoid anything that gives you spoilers, but if you aren't fussed about spoilers, or you've already seen the film and you want to hear two lovely nerds chat about it, join us for Big Damn Cast later on this week, episode 149. Speaking of Big Damn Cast, here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, the gorgeous Asgardian in human form. Matt, what are your thoughts, son?
You know, with the frequency that I end up doing them like this, I think we should probably rename this to car segments. Once again, me and Chris separate for this one. I don't know if he's going to put me in first or put him in first, but then we never do know. So yeah, just come out of, I don't know, the biggest movie of the last decade, probably, in terms of hype and preparation and all that good stuff. I'd back out and go to the next one. So Avengers Endgame, the 23rd film in this Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, it's pretty much everything you'd expect it to be. It's huge and exciting and I don't know, to say too much about it would be to spoil it, and they've actually done a really good job of not spoiling anything in the marketing, because all you've seen in the marketing is actually taken from such a small fragment of the film. It's just wonderful. It is 3 hours of pretty much fan service and closure and just sheer satisfaction. If you've been following the MCU, you're just going to get so much out of this, and that's what it is. It's not a definite ending, because they're going to keep making these until they stop making money, which is probably going to be never at this rate. But it feels like such a definite closing of a chapter in a way that none of the other Marvel films have felt so far. And that makes it really, as I say, satisfying. It's a satisfying movie. It's just so warming and so exciting to see all these things come together out of the back of Infinity War. It's the way how they pick up from that is not necessarily what you'd expect, so it kind of throws you a little off at first, and then they just take it in such a bold direction. I thought they make some choices with characters and events and such in this movie which I thought were quite it feels weird to say brave about a multi-million-dollar movie that's going to make like $2 billion at the box office or whatever, but in terms of the way they treat the characters and situations and where they take the story, I think it kind of is, because it doesn't play it as straight as you would think, or as you might expect from something like this. It kind of plays with your expectations a little bit, which, you know, Disney across their various studios are getting pretty good at now. Yes, standout performances all around. The old school Avengers crew, the core of Downey Jr., Hemsworth, Evans, Johansson, all on fucking top form here. Great turns from supporting cast members. It's just wonderful, and there's so much about it that I want to praise, but again, to praise specific things would be to give too much away. I've just got to say, it is one of those milestone movies. Like, no one's ever done. They said the same thing about Infinity War. No one's ever done anything like this in the way that they've knitted together so many films across so long a period of time. And this is definitely you can tell that they were conceived as a two-parter. This is definitely the second half of that, in that it closes things off so well, and in just a way that's so enjoyable to watch. And yes, it is long, but you will have a hell of a time. It is just brilliant, just a stupendous achievement in blockbuster spectacle, and one that, because you've been following these characters for over a decade now, still manages to land with a fair bit of heart, because it doesn't need to do all that setup. It has had 11 years to do that. In this is just 3 hours of payoff. And well, usually you have to pay for that kind of satisfaction, and a lot more than a ticket price for the cinema. So yeah, I don't know, what did you expect? I was going to turn around and say, don't go and see an Infinity War, it's terrible. They would have to work really hard to fuck this one up, and they just knocked it out of the fucking park. It is just spectacular, marvelous even. No, shush, quiet. She hates me. Go see it, and then when you've seen it, get in touch with us and tell us what you thought, because you can be damn sure we're going to be talking about this in great detail. at BigDamnCast on Twitter, bigdamncontact@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. We're gonna go so deep into spoilers on the next Big Damn Cast that we will probably drown in them, and that will be the final episode after our sad deaths caused by inordinate amounts of fan wank, which is incidentally what this film contains in the best possible way. Just go see Endgame. You're gonna go and see it. So this is a moot point because you have to see it. It's just that much of a cinematic juggernaut. If you have any investment in the Marvel films at all, this is a must see. And if you don't, see it anyway, just because it's massive and your eyes will thank you. Yeah. How do you review something like that? Well, I don't know. Yeah. Sure. That's it.